we are trying to see how crystal engineering a subject has been evolved over the several years as a fundamental science to the diverse material applications. For instance, my fundamental focus would be on pharma materials, pharmaceuticals development, in particular, an aspect of recent developments from the crystal engineering fundamentals, which is pharmaceutical co-crystals. So, uh, my talk consists of a brief background about crystal engineering. Probably some of the audience don't need this, but in the bigger picture of the audience that are available, I would try to give a bit of touch upon what crystal engineering can do to the pharmaceuticals development. And my particular emphasis will be on 4 case studies today, which is how photostabilization could be achieved from the pharmaceutical co-crystals, and also competitive destabilization. This is something to do with earlier on talk today. Probably Dr. Bansal must have focused on it. What are the current challenges with the co-crystal formulations? So relating to that, competitive destabilization, how we could attend that, or what are the issues associated with, we could learn there. The mechanical properties, how that could be modulated by understanding the crystal structure. Recently a lot of interest in this area, in general, from the crystal structure to the mechanical behaviors of the materials, a wide range of materials that include pharma materials as well. An example to attend that, and also permeability studies. In today's audience, we have Palash and also Geeta. They were part of this work as well. So this is kind of acknowledging their contributions in this work too. We will also talk about that and see where we are standing currently in relation to the crystal engineering for the pharmaceuticals development. So this is where I come from. Dr. Ghosh has given a very detailed and kind introduction of mine. I come from University of Bradford, UK. So this is University of Bradford. This is called Narcraft building. You can see an arrow on the right hand side top. This is where I am currently sitting now. This is my office. So uh, in this slide, I would like to talk about what is a Center for Pharmaceutical Engineering Science. We are a center that focus on understanding the pharmaceutical materials properties and tailor the physical properties of materials for the pharmaceuticals development and further. So our fundamental aim of this center is to achieve impact on patient and promote the healthy living, and also impact on the pharmaceutical companies. As the theme rightly state for uh, Birla Institute of Technology, Misra, how industry and academia can interact more, how we could, as an institute, university, how we could support industry is also one of the key aims of the center. This is headed by Professor Anant Paratkar. Uh, and in this slide, you could see here there is, I mean, there are 3 distinguished scientists there. The one who is highlighted here, Professor Peter York, who has developed crystal and particle engineering based materials using the supercritical fluid technology. Being in the academic institute in the UK, this is the highest earned commercially successful Bradford particle design, particles, crystalline particles prepared from the supercritical fluid technology that has earned 200 million worth of commercial success. That is by far any academic institute in the university setup in UK has achieved. So with that money, actually, this aircraft building has been built. So I was referring to the crystal engineering. It has diverse applications for the development of functional materials, whether it could be agrochemicals, pigments and dyes. It could be explosives. It could be fuel cells, metal organic frameworks. These are quite established another side of area from the crystal engineering, if not for the pharmaceuticals. You could see storage materials and so on. So crystal engineering also helps in the semiconductors development. Photolithography is also could be achieved. Some recent studies show for that. So my current focus would be mainly around the crystal engineering for the pharmaceuticals. So crystal engineering around 70s, 1970s, it has been all started and developed in the 55. It has coined, but during 70s, Gerhard Schmidt has started a crystal engineering approach for the understanding of crystalline materials for the photodimerization reactions. However, Professor Gautam Desiraju, whose introduction is not required for this audience, perhaps he has defined crystal engineering, and this is the definition till date quite valid, and it makes more practical sense as well if you reinforce on the definition. So it is about the understanding of intermolecular interactions for crystal packing and use these interactions for the development of new solids with the desired physical chemical properties. This is what exactly we are now at this phase of crystal engineering, whether it could be pharma materials or otherwise. This is more practically uh, presented today. Uh, in the context of pharmaceutical materials, if you take API, it poses several physical issues. So to modify uh, physical properties of the materials, such as solubility, dissolution, compressibility, stability, um, and in turn, pharmacokinetics or bioavailability of materials could be altered using crystal engineering. So to as drug discovery, if you talk of drug discovery to the development, there is a huge risk, and also it is time taking process, as you all know. If you started off with 10,000 or 5,000 molecules, you ended up in 10-15 years with one compound if you are really lucky. So given this strenuous challenge, as you look at the statistics from several years to like 30-40 years to now, the development of new products is getting more and more delayed as the challenges posed with the molecules are increasingly high and difficult. So repurposing of the pharmaceuticals is another way, where if marketed products have any um, physical issues, if that could be attended with fine tuning or small modulations, that could be also another effective way to address the problems. So crystal engineering is quite fitting there, and it is useful in modulating the various pharmaceutical solids, not necessarily one type of solids, but as you know, again, this audience doesn't require this particular slide and explanation. Various pharmaceutical solids, you know, polymorphs is one of the crystalline solids which attracted industry in the recent 2 decades and so on. And there are also salts for the long time. Marketed products are there. In the recent time, already nearly about 2 decades, you could see co-crystals also in the academic fraternity, and also it entered quite rapidly into the industry for the development. So what are these co-crystals? Again, in the bigger picture of all the audiences, co-crystal is nothing but an API and additive molecule interact with each other via electrostatic interactions, for example hydrogen bonds, and they form a homogeneous mixture in the solid state. So why are we interested in these pharmaceutical co-crystals? Mention not, there are about solid dosage forms are the most convenient, affordable, and also um, uh, popular solid, dosage forms. So if you look at the literature, about nearly um, 50% of new chemical entities comes from the um, BCS class 2, and majority of the large fraction of these solids are crystalline material, and it is easy to handle. So if they pose poor physical properties, we need to have methods for manipulating the physicochemical properties. That's where pharmaceutical co-crystals can fit in. Generally, salt formation is a more effective way of modification of API properties. However, if in some instances where acidity and basicity is not sufficient in the molecule, perhaps co-crystals is there for you to try and do. And co-crystals also give IP advantages such as novelty, utility, and non-obviousness. So there are about 8 new marketed products based on co-crystals. For example, Entresto is nothing but disodium valsartan and monosodium sacubityl in water. Suglat, Astellas Pharma has produced this, and also Pfizer compound is there at the late stage. But what interesting example I would like to draw your attention is on the crystal engineered citric acid. This is result, invention, I would say innovation, came from Bradford. Professor Anand Paradkar has developed this, and this is now going into the commercial scale. This has been patented, and full grant patent has been approved, and now it is going to be in the commercial success shortly in this year. So currently it is in the development stage. What is this study about? It is effervescent product development, as you majority of you are from the pharmaceuticals. So as you understand, for the effervescent product formulations, you need to have citric acid, sodium bicarbonate, so that you produce that dissolution, expedited dissolution of an ingredient. It could be nutraceutical or active ingredient in a rapid phase, and it goes into the solution so patient can take it. So generally what happens is citric acid is a very hygroscopic material. In the industry setup, you need to have um, environment suitable for humidity should be arrested, so citric acid doesn't undergo hydration during the process of effervescent product preparation. Otherwise, if you have traces of moisture in them, citric acid in presence of moisture, it is a typical chemical reaction takes place between citric acid and sodium bicarbonate. What you get out is sodium citrate and carbon dioxide effervescent. You can see those uh, uh, bubbles coming in the effervescent products. And so what this in this particular innovation, Bradford CPS has done is, citric acid has been co-crystallized within nicotinamide compound. So citric acid nicotinamide has prevented hygroscopicity. This has a huge industry value and commercial importance. If you take citric acid alone in the effervescent product, by 12 hours, you could see the tablet is getting deliquesce, nearly deliquesce, collapse the tablet structure. But if you take citric acid co-crystal with nicotinamide, we know that in 2005, Bill Jones has developed a hygroscopicity uh, prevention for the caffeine with the various dicarboxylic acids. But in this example, the importance of citric acid in making this physically stable has uh, commercial value. So citric acid nicotinamide is co-crystal has been intact. You could see here after 30 days the tablet structure retained. So giving this example, I would like to point out that there are um, uh, different ways in which co-crystallization could be used. It could be effective in the nutraceuticals, beyond pharmaceuticals as well. So where regulatory criteria may allow you to take it the product development all the way, and you could go on to do the commercial scale of production too. So some of these, how crystal engineering could be used for altering the physicochemical properties. We have written a review article which was published in Journal of Indian Institute of Sciences in 2007 along with Dr. I.T. Pamla. So you could go through this literature. Coming back to the case studies that I would like to discuss today are about photosensitive drugs. We know that pharmaceutical co-crystals could alter various physical properties such as solubility, dissolution rate, pharmacokinetics, in turn bioavailability, and there are also studies to show that there is mechanical properties which also reflected into the tabletability could be altered or positively modified. But when we publish this work, there are also papers about physical studies, physical stability could be altered and chemical stability could be altered. But we wonder to know there are good number of photosensitive drugs. So if we could prepare the co-crystal, whether this could also stabilize the photostability or not is what we set out the question, because there are photosensitive drugs will pose problems around the quality, safety, and efficacy. As you know, they produce metabolites during the storage shelf life. Those metabolites sometimes may be more active than the active ingredients are. Sometimes it is generally toxic than the active ingredient. In other words, you set out to deliver particular dose, but you will not end up giving that desired dose, which is not good for the patient. So photosensitive drugs could be dealt if it is doable. That is where we have taken nitrofurantoin as a model compound. It has dissolution problems and also it has bioavailability problems, but our chief concern in taking this model compound is to look for if we can modify the photosensitivity of the drug. If you look at this nitrofurantoin, it is an antibiotic useful for the urinary tract infections. You could see in the molecule you have C double bond N. This particular bond is what the problem causing for the photo degradation. We could able to publish several papers around this with various collaborations and also in-house with nitrofurantoin based co-crystals. Some of them are listed here. So these are the co-crystallization methods we use at the University of Bradford for preparing the pharma co-crystals. Hot melt extrusion we have, high shear mill. This is again solid state shear stress we use for the co-crystals preparation. We have microwave technology for preparing co-crystals. We have ultrasound, spray drying technology based co-crystals are reported in the literature as well, and we do have spray drying technology, and rotary evaporator has been used. Spray drying and rotary evaporator are can go in tandem, I would say. Could be useful for preparing the pharmacocrystal. So this is a synthesis part for the co-crystals. These are the infrastructure we have at our disposal. So we prepared several of nitrofurantoin co-crystals. For instance, I have taken here two examples. One is nitrofurantoin 4-hydroxybenzoic acid, and also nitrofurantoin 3-aminobenzoic acid. On this slide, you could see a co-crystal of nitrofurantoin 4-hydroxybenzoic acid. If you take nitrofurantoin, it exists in two polymorphic forms, alpha form and beta form. If you subject to the storage conditions, whether it could be uh, 20, I mean, relative humidity of above 75% and room temperature or accelerated stability conditions of 40 and 75, you could experience nitrofurantoin is converted into the monohydrate form. Even hydrated forms are also in the polymorphic form. That is for a discussion for another time, but nitrofurantoin converts into the monohydrated form if it is stored um, at room temperature or at accelerated temperature if you take slightly elevated humidity conditions. Whereas when you prepare co-crystal with 4-hydroxybenzoic acid, it is 100%. You can see in this diagram on the left hand panel. In both of these conditions, 60% RH and room temperature 40 degrees Celsius and 75% RH. You could see we have assayed also chemical stability. You could see quite stable with the co-crystal, whereas about 10%, I would say, randomly, roughly, this could converted into the monohydrate form. So co-crystal, we know that already by then, when we published this paper, by then a few of the co-crystals have been already reported talking about physicochemical stability. We also seen the similar effect in our system too. That's not our priority, but when we went on to determine the photo degradation behavior, nitrofurantoin alone in 24 hours, it has degraded about 27%. Over 20% of nitrofurantoin has been converted into their metabolites. Whereas when you prepare the co-crystal and if you subject that to the degradation studies, what we have noted was in 1 day time, it has degraded up to 10%. So there is a not complete protection of photostabilization, but a degree of photostabilization has been achieved when we prepared co-crystal. This has a very good indication that co-crystals could also be used for modifying the photostability. We went on to develop more co-crystals and determine their photostability properties. Just to cut short the story, long story short, nitrofurantoin with the 3-aminobenzoic acid is a co-crystal. We determine the photo stability of it. Nitrofurantoin has been performed to photo degradation studies up to 1 week time, and co-crystal and also physical mixture of nitrofurantoin plus 3-aminobenzoic acid has also been tested. If it is to do with only co-crystal or physical mixture also would offer similar effect, but physical mixture followed the pathway of nitrofurantoin drug only. But co-crystal, if you look at this plot, uh, it has completely offered 100% protection. Then we thought to see what is mechanistically happening, why there is 100% protection photostabilization when it comes to this particular coformer. First, nitrofurantoin. If you look at the molecule, this is in the trans form, and it is when it is subjected to the sunlight or daylight, it rapidly changes from anti form to the syn form. So syn anti cis trans conversions are so rapid that you can't separate them when it is exposed to sunlight. When it is in the cis form, if it is hydrolyzed, if there is moisture picked up by the cis form, then you could get these metabolites. This is what mechanistically nitrofurantoin photodegradation pathway. So what crystal engineering could offer for us? When you determine the crystal structure of nitrofurantoin with the 3-aminobenzoic acid, what happened is it is forming a nice strong interactions. This is heterosynthan you can talk of. This is one of the popular intermolecular interaction in terms of the design of pharmaceutical co-crystals is concerned. That is fine, but if you look at the further detail of the structure, nitrofurantoin has various uh, acceptor groups here with nitro oxygens and also nitrogens. They were completely interlocked with the amino group if you look at these interactions. So because of this interlocking, the cis trans transformation is arrested. That's how this is able to produce photostability. So crystal engineering approaches by understanding the how crystalline structure is self-assembled, that could also give you an estimate of how the physical properties could alter for a particular form of material. So we have also extended this generality of photostability around several other active ingredients such as furosemide with nicotinamide co-crystal, carbamazepine with saccharin co-crystal, carbamazepine with nicotinamide co-crystal, and we also tested with nifedipine co-crystal. And in all these cases, we could see there is a photostabilization by preparing the co-crystals. For simplicity, I did not included those studies, but what we have seen is co-crystallization is an effective tool for modifying the photosensitivity behavior in the positive direction for the photostabilization of compounds. For a completeness, we also determine the solubility and dissolution rate for nitrofuran and co-crystals. In the interest of time and the familiarity of the audience, I skip that section. So my this led me to go to my case study 2, where competitive destabilization is what has been investigated. So in this particular study, mechanistic understanding has been explored to see how co-crystal will behave in a formulation scenario. So this is our first paper, I believe, systematically understood or reviewed, put together the information around the co-crystals for the formulation challenges. There are a lot of physical property developments. We know that is happening with the co-crystals preparation, but what if these really these co-crystals are taken into the development stage? What are the formulation challenges? What are the papers available by 2019? We could able to review them and all put together in this particular review. I would encourage, if you have time, go through this particular paper to find out more details on the formulation challenges towards, I mean, what are the opportunities with the co-crystals and formulation challenges. So in this particular study, what we set out to do was, if you have a co-crystal which has a desired physical property, which is encouraging thing and good one, but co-crystal with API and with the co-former alone cannot be put into the solid dosage form, but you need to have excipients used in order to prepare actual solid dosage form. So in a scenario where excipients are there and you have processing conditions, unit operations such as milling, micronization, filtration, tablet direct compression or wet granulation, various unit operations are there. During these processing conditions or during the formulation, how your co-crystal behaves with various excipients. This is what we set out to do in this particular study. So we know that co-crystals in the solid phase are stable, but if it is un subjected to the processing or storage conditions, it can dissociate into API and co-former. They can dissociate, or it can undergo hydration because there is a solvent involved in the processing condition. That could be water as well, and polymorphic changes. One physical form could change into another physical form. With the crystalline structure changing with the same composition. That is what polymorphic changes, even if you have started with 1:1 stoichiometry. It could turn into 1:2 stoichiometry on either side. It could be API or coformer. So these are possible threats during the formulation condition. So we have set out a simple study. We have taken carbamazepine nicotinamide co-crystal, and we have taken a coformer, one coformer, which is saccharin, and see what happens. And similarly, carbamazepine saccharin co-crystal we have taken, and we added a excipient, for instance, nicotinamide. What happens to the system? So to in a real formulation scenario, as you all very much familiar with this, various excipients are used. They have particular role in the tablet preparations. So what we have set out to do was green processing conditions to simulate all sorts of no solvent interference to complicate, but only under the green conditions or mechanical activation scenario, how these materials behave. So we have used various um, analytical characterizations for this study. Hot stage microscopy is one of them, Raman spectroscopy, variable temperature X-ray diffraction, and sublimation to understand the mechanistic pathway of these reactions. So in the first case, carbamazepine nicotinamide co-crystal has been taken, and we have added saccharin to it, and we ball mill the material and see what happens. And similarly, we have taken carbamazepine saccharin co-crystal and added nicotinamide, and we mill the material and see what happens to the resultant powder materials. This is one set of study, and we analyze them offline with powder X-ray diffraction. And on the other side, we have taken these mixtures and did also variable temperature XRD X-ray diffraction and saw the results. Here are the results. If you take when you have taken carbamazepine nicotinamide with saccharin, until in the variable temperature conditions, until 130 degrees Celsius, there is no formation of carbamazepine saccharin, but co-crystal of carbamazepine nicotinamide stayed as such. It is stable. Even after 2 hours of milling carbamazepine nicotinamide with saccharin, there is no physical changes to the material. Whereas carbamazepine saccharin with nicotinamide on the right hand side, what happened was by heating up to 100 degrees or 105 degrees, you started getting carbamazepine nicotinamide. After 2 hours of milling, you could also see a complete transformation of carbamazepine saccharin into the carbamazepine nicotinamide. So what it suggests is carbamazepine saccharin, if it is mixed with an excipient of nicotinamide, there is a change is happening at relatively at lower temperature. So we set out to study mechanistically what is actually happening inside these milling reactions. So we have exhaustively investigated thermal studies. We have taken carbamazepine alone, nicotinamide alone, saccharin alone, and co-crystal of carbamazepine nicotinamide with saccharin, and carbamazepine saccharin with nicotinamide, and various combinations we have studied that include also physical mixtures. So here, when carbamazepine and nicotinamide physical mixtures have taken, and when it is subjected to the DSC and TGA, what happened was the melting point for the carbamazepine nicotinamide is known to be 157 degrees Celsius. Carbamazepine saccharin co-crystal melting point is about 172 degrees Celsius. What interestingly we found out was there were two endotherms when we have taken physical mixtures of carbamazepine and nicotinamide. We have obtained two endotherms. One is at 124 degrees Celsius, and second one is around 158 degrees Celsius. So that could be attributed to the melting point. The second one, the first one perhaps is could be considered, which is lower than the melting point. This could be considered as a eutectic point. If for the physical mixtures, finding eutectic through the thermal investigations is not new. It's been reported by the University of Minnesota researchers. Dr. Raj Suryanarayanan during 2003 has, I think, very early stages. They have seen with the rapid thermal investigations, you could get eutectic, which is followed by the co-crystal and then co-crystal melting. So perhaps this suggests that carbamazepine to nicotinamide eutectic transformation is undergoing. And when carbamazepine saccharin has been taken, there was again two endotherms, one at 151 degrees Celsius and second one at 172, which could be attributed to the melting point again. The first one, we also corroborated the results with the thermogravimetric analysis TGA, where at this particular temperature, about 151, there is a huge weight loss, significant amount of weight loss, which is about nearly 30% weight loss that could be attributed to the sublimation. So these thermal investigations have given some hints on these two co-crystals are following two different pathways of mechanisms with the carbamazepine nicotinamide eutectic and with the carbamazepine saccharin undergoing sublimation pathway. So we have set up sublimation experiments. What we did was, again, here various sublimation experiments have been done. We have taken carbamazepine saccharin co-crystal, carbamazepine nicotinamide co-crystal, carbamazepine alone, saccharin alone, nicotinamide alone, and also we have taken physical mixtures of various combinations, carbamazepine, saccharin, and nicotinamide in stoichiometric ratios, and also carbamazepine saccharin with nicotinamide, carbamazepine nicotinamide with saccharin. So several of these, if you look at this particular publication, you will have a full picture of what all sublimation experiments have been done. Sublimation experiments have been typically set up at about 100 degrees Celsius, and for the saturation of sublimation, we performed these up to 24 hours. What interestingly we found out was, when we did carbamazepine, saccharin, and nicotinamide physical mixtures, when it is subjected to the sublimation, in the residue, whatever is remained in the bottom, what we noted was carbamazepine nicotinamide formation, and in the sublimate you could see nicotinamide alone and carbamazepine alone. When you take carbamazepine saccharin and the nicotinamide excipient has been taken, so you also see here carbamazepine nicotinamide is forming. So carbamazepine saccharin, when it is added with the excipient of nicotinamide, the formation of carbamazepine nicotinamide is taking place. That means this particular dissociation, carbamazepine saccharin dissociation, is taking place via the sublimation route, whereas with the other side, there was no change. When it is carbamazepine nicotinamide with saccharin, no change, no appreciable change in the sublimation. That means it is not taking the route of a sublimation pathway. So just to further confirm these results, we have done hot stage polarized microscopy. What we did was, we have taken co-crystal of it could be carbamazepine nicotinamide with saccharin or the other co-crystal. There are two co-crystal systems, as you know. So we did two-step process here. Carbamazepine nicotinamide with saccharin as an excipient. We mix them, we physically mix them and perform the hot stage microscopy. So when carbamazepine nicotinamide in contact with the excipient, it has an advantage of reaction during the heating stage. If you have taken co-crystal and co-crystal carbamazepine nicotinamide with saccharin, these are not in contact with each other. So this is co-crystal, this is excipient, put a little bit far from each other and perform the hot stage microscopy. There is no interaction between them, or there is no change in formation of carbamazepine nicotinamide. So when there is an intimate contact of saccharin with co-crystal, you could see carbamazepine saccharin formation. This is happening because before the melting point, about 125 130 degrees Celsius, the liquid formation or eutectic formation has been the predominant pathway, and then you get the co-crystal. When there is no saccharin in intimate contact with a co-crystal, so uh, carbamazepine is staying as such, carbamazepine nicotinamide co-crystal is staying as such, and there is no co-crystal of carbamazepine saccharin. So in this stage one, the microscopy pictures were taken from room temperature until the melting point. However, we have I have posted here from 110 degrees Celsius to 140 degrees Celsius. These pictures can show you. This is carbamazepine in the first picture on the top. Carbamazepine nicotinamide is shown in the orange. Saccharin, these big lumps are shown with green. And you could also see by 115, 117, this blue arrow co-crystal formation. They become more and more as the temperature raises. In particular, between 130 to 140, there is a rapid formation of carbamazepine saccharin. In this particular example, we have taken, just to reiterate, we have taken carbamazepine nicotinamide. Excipient is saccharin. Once it goes to particular temperature range between 115 to 140, typically between 130 to 140, you could able to see eutectic formation. This you could see in this particular diagram nicely. So there is a liquid formation, and also crystals forming later on. So this is driven by this particular composition is driven by the eutectic mechanism. There are videos as well. I try to put the videos, but videos are from the Apple based, so I couldn't able to insert here. But if you look at the paper from the Crystal Growth and Design, those videos could give you better emphasis on what's happening here. So this is stage 2, where there is no intimate contact with carbamazepine nicotinamide co-crystal with saccharin. So you could see here, this is carbamazepine nicotinamide and this is saccharin. There is no intimate contact. When you heat them, perhaps a little bit of carbamazepine nicotinamide becomes liquid, but there is no interaction with the saccharin, and there is no co-crystal formation. So as I indicated here, no formation of carbamazepine saccharin. So this is directed by the purely by the eutectic formation. Whereas in the other case, carbamazepine saccharin co-crystal, if you have taken nicotinamide excipient, what happens is whether it is mixed or whether it is not mixed, there is no intimate contact. In both the cases, what happens is it is hot stage microscopy experiments were done, performed under the cover slip. So it is kind of nearly closed environment. The material is carbamazepine saccharin. If it is heated beyond 100 degrees, as you can see, it goes undergoes for the sublimation for about 27%. So it has sublimed, and that sublime in the sublimed stage, it started interacting with each other, and there is a formation of carbamazepine nicotinamide. So whether it is in intimate contact or not in contact, in both cases you could able to see co-crystal formation. Dissociation of carbamazepine saccharin co-crystal into the carbamazepine nicotinamide. So this is the diagram picture, again shown from 97 degrees Celsius to 98 degrees Celsius, where both the components, co-crystal and excipient were mixed, and you could see co-crystal formation. If you see these tiny needles around there, that shows the formation of carbamazepine nicotinamide. This is an example where nicotinamide is taken here. In this lump, carbamazepine saccharin has been placed here, and nicotinamide in this lump here. These are completely in a isolated scenario. There is no reason why there should be a co-crystal formation now as per the previous model compound. But interestingly, what happened was upon heating from 90 to again 110 degrees Celsius, you could see already the crystals of carbamazepine nicotinamide is forming. This could happen only with the sublimation status. So we also perform some of the energetics based on thermal investigations, and also we perform some calculations, computations as well. What delta G suggests is feasible for the sublimation reaction. If you have taken a physical mixture of carbamazepine, nicotinamide, and saccharin in the sublime stage, you have enthalpy and also free energy are negative in value, less than zero. That means formation of carbamazepine nicotinamide is promoted by the sublimation pathway. Whereas if you take carbamazepine nicotinamide and saccharin, enthalpy of fusion suggests that it is negative in the direction, so in the eutectic formation is taken place. So this study clearly shows that co-crystals are to be thoroughly investigated, rigorously studied in terms of their physical stability when it come in interference with the various excipients, how they behave. So in these two model compounds, there is a significant dissociation of co-crystal and formation of a co-crystal with the excipient that you have used. So there is every possibility that co-crystal could be prone for some of the destabilizations during the formulation or processing conditions. So these particular stability studies should be conducted in detail. So here in this case study 3, structure versus mechanical properties has been explained. Some of these studies must have explored by Dr. Kelvin Sun, and also I'm sure Professor Bansal may have discussed. So I will try to keep it short and go through what we exactly did here. We have taken caffeine glutaric acid co-crystal system. It is a polymorphic system. It exists in polymorphic form 1 and also form 2. So form 2 is the stable form. Form 1 is metastable form. So in this particular paper, we emphasize that mechanical properties need to be performed on different phases of the crystal to get a full picture of what is happening with the crystal, rather than on the one principal phase of the crystal. You need to get the mechanical anisotropy information on the various phases, so your information is more comprehensive and more accurate. So Bill Jones and co-workers have reported mechanical properties using AFM, atomic force microscopy, and they have determined behavior of these polymorphic forms in form 1 and 2, and they describe the mechanical behaviors of them. But when we determine the properties on the multiple phases, we have obtained slightly more comprehensive and more uh, uh, valuable information, we believe, has obtained. So as you know, without further spending much time on this, pharmaceutical materials do undergo fracture, lamination, capping, sticking to the punch die. These are the typical problems as pharmaceutical industry or pharmaceutical scientists we experience from time to time. So to surpass these difficulties with the mechanical behavior of materials, can we do co-crystal Cs? Was the question posed quite some time ago, and there are a good number of cases where if you prepare co-crystals, you are basically altering the crystal structure, which is impacting your mechanical properties. And there are not necessary that all the co-crystals should improve the mechanical properties, but by preparing the co-crystal, you are altering the crystal structure of API. So it could either go towards the positive direction or the negative direction. Again, depending upon the conformer and also crystalline structure, self-assembly that you obtain upon preparing the co-crystal, that should determine your final outcome of mechanical behavior or tabletability compression property of the material. So in this example, if you look at caffeine glutaric acid form 1 or form 2, in the two-dimensional phase, both look nearly very similar crystal structure. Rather, I would say same crystal structure from the two dimension. There are no particular differences. We did some computations, but for now we can leave out. So we determined the nano indentation for both form 1 and form 2 along the two phases of the crystal. One is form 1 001 plane is the primary plane. We also tested against 100. We determined the mechanical behavior using the nano indentation for 001 plane and also 100 plane. What we obtained was hardness for the form 2 is far greater than the hardness for the form 1. Form 2 is, as I said, stable form. Form 1 is metastable form. And now these are the nano indentation data for both 100 and 001 planes for two of the polymorphic forms. So we looked at the crystal structure in detail. What happened was in the form 1, if you look at the form 1 crystal structure, the arrangement of molecules are in the layered structure and also linear. And if you apply stress from 001 plane or 100 plane, there are nice slip planes, and you could get um, flexible crystal, flexible parameters. For example, Young modulus is lower and plasticity is better. When you go to the form 2, if you apply the stress from 100 plane or 001 plane, the molecules in the third dimension are not aligned in the layered fashion, but the crystals, crystal packing appear to be corrugated structure. Because of these non-linear or corrugated crystal structure, you require to have more energy or more stress need to be applied in both the directions, although it also have some slip planes within these corrugated layers. But if you compare to the form 1 to the form 2, form 2 is the rigid structure and it has more intermolecular interactions and it requires more stress in order to break it. So that's how the except for the orientation of molecules from linear to the corrugated sheet from form 1 to the form 2 in the two dimensions, both the structures look similar. So this third dimension is quite important in determining your final outcome of the properties. So what we figured out was we ascribe that form 2 is the hard for the tabletability, and form 1 supposed to behave softer crystal, although it is metastable. This could be suitable for tabletability properties. This we need to test and find out, whereas Bill Jones results suggested that form 2 could be preferable. But if you determine the nano indentation in various phases, that mechanical anisotropy will give you extra bit of information which could be helpful in identifying the full picture of properties. This is the last case study where we address the tuning of permeability of an antiretroviral drug, emtricitabine. Uh, we prepared multi-component compounds using various co-formers and in-house high throughput screening. We have performed emtricitabine with benzoic acid and caprolactam formed co-crystal, whereas with the dihydroxybenzoic acid, malonic acid, malic acid, saccharin, it formed salts. We know that pK has a role to play with whether the API will form uh, a salt or co-crystal with the co-former. We also performed some solid state NMR to understand the relationship between API to that of when it moved to the co-crystal formation to that of salt formation, what is expected to be there and what it is there actually. If you look at the solid state NMR spectroscopy, emtricitabine exists in uh, more number of symmetry molecules whose Z prime value is more than one. That's why you could see nitrogens. These are the three nitrogens could appear as doublets in the solid state NMR. When you prepare a co-crystal with the benzoic acid, there is a shift, de-shielding, 10 delta ppm maybe in the solid state you could see when it became co-crystal. So those three nitrogens have been interacting with benzoic acid molecules. That's how there is a de-shielding you could see from uh, a drug to that of co-crystal. When it is prepared salt with dihydroxybenzoic acid, there is a 50 to 60 delta ppm changes in it, and that's why you could see there is a huge shift in nitrogens in the emtricitabine drug with that of salt formation with dihydroxybenzoic acid. This is the structural part, but now let's go to the permeability. Permeability is also important. However, the solubility is there for the molecule, it has to be absorbed so as to get into the systemic circulation, so that you will have the full advantage of formulation. So permeability is quite important. For the emtricitabine, permeability is poor, solubility is very high. So in order to get good permeability, at least 20 times higher solubility needed to get a bit of negation without of permeability. So it is equally important to have good permeability for the material. Co-crystals, not many studies are there, but as I mentioned, this work is done with SRM Institute in India with Palash, and also Geeta at that time was in National University of Singapore, and researchers at the Bradford have gathered together to investigate these results. So emtricitabine with various co-formers with various multi-component uh, multi-component compounds. What we found out was co-crystals and salts are here, and these are the flux parameters you could see. What we set out to do was there is a good pair of emtricitabine with benzoic acid co-crystal, and 2,6-dihydroxybenzoic acid salt is a good uh, flux parameters are shown, which could be compared and analyzed further and see what's happening in detail. Uh, what we found out is a co-crystal with benzoic acid and emtricitabine showed higher diffusion rate or higher permeability to that of drug or to that of salt. Salt, it has to be neutralized and then permeated, whereas with the co-crystal, it's in the neutral form, or drug itself in the neutral form should have been better permeability. That is what these results show. And we try to correlate with the crystal structures. Not many literature data is available to obtain unequivocal, clear, draw the lines between crystal structure to the permeability. But whatever we could attempt to do was crystal densities to that of permeability. There is an inverse correlation. If crystal density is lower, permeability is higher. And also we have seen similar trend with the binding energies, which has been calculated for these multi-component systems, where there is an inverse correlation as well with the binding energies. Apart from that, co-crystal has shown higher permeability to that of API and with that of salt. So in summary, what we achieve, what we touch upon today is on how crystal engineering could be used for positively modifying the properties such as solubility dissolution rate. We have seen for the nitrofurantoin, not so much with the bioavailability today, but there are in literature people have performed and shown for various molecules, various APIs. We have seen also physicochemical stability in literature, as well as with the nitrofurantoin and various other APIs we have studied. Photostability with carbamazepine, with furosemide, with nifedipine, with nitrofurantoin we have seen. Mechanical properties we have seen with caffeine glutaric acid. Permeability we have seen with emtricitabine, and how crystal engineering could be used for the formulation challenges also we have discussed. So I am currently, as Dr. Ghosh mentioned in the beginning, editorial board member for the crystals. It has now interesting impact factor. When I joined there, it was about 1+ impact factor, and it is every year continuously growing and ever growing. It is open access journal, and I review a lot of articles in this one. Please feel free to publish here, and you could also select crystal engineering section and particular editors to work on your articles, so we could go through that. Currently, I'm also doing topic editor for the Frontiers in Chemistry. This has exciting impact factor now. Earlier, when we took up, it was like 3.45, but in the recent time, it has increased a lot. This is also another open access journal. 5.2 is quite impressive. Currently, Palash, myself, and people, I don't know if he is in the audience today, but we are working with another chief editor, Professor Boldireva, with Frontiers in Chemistry. Some of you may have we have time until end of September. If you really would like to submit some articles, please get in touch with us. We will explore your submission. I would like to acknowledge all the collaborators and researchers who helped in developing the works we discussed today. Professor Anand Paradkar, Bashir, these are from the Bradford. I have not discussed the work today from Professor Poonam Tandon from University of Lucknow, but we have published quite a good number of publications based on computational studies. And Professor Malareddy, Manish, these were involved with the Aditya, these were involved with the mechanical properties. Kelvinson, currently we are working on some mechanical properties for the nitrofurantoin co-crystals, which the submission is due perhaps soon. Palash, Geeta, these are involved in the emtricitabine that I discussed today. Just to, before I close this session, this is where the Bradford is located. In the UK, we are somewhat on the northern side. You can see London is in the south side. Nearest places to the Bradford are Leeds, Manchester. These are familiar places as well. Bradford is located here, and this is map. This may not give you much picture, but this is the University of Bradford. From the entrance, this is called atrium. That's where students, academics will go there for a bit of break and have some discussions as well. This is the Bradford city center. Our university is quite nearby, 5 minutes away from the city center. So this is one, and this is Alhambra next to the city center. This is a theater where people directly perform the arts and things like that. This is a national heritage place, which is 2-3 miles away from the Bradford. This is very near to the place where I reside and live. This is West Yorkshire. This is our region, 1 hour drive away from Bradford. You could see a beautiful location as well. So thank you very much for your attention and for your kind time. I am happy to take questions.